Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the Permco Superbikes at Mid-Ohio in this 10th anniversary championship season of MotoAmerica. It is round number 7 here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. 2 races set to unfold as this weekend continues for the Steel Commander Superbike category. But before we can get to racing, we have to wrap up qualifying. We have the second session of qualifying. It'll be a 30-minute session for the Superbike riders once they are able to exit pit lane and get out there. But before that happens, let's take a ride around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We had an instant 360 camera put on one of the Attack Yamahas earlier this weekend, being ridden, Roger, by Jason Pridmore.
Yeah, and one thing you'll notice about this track, you can go through here, how a lot of change of direction through here from 2 to 3 really quick. And then you go into the, this turn 4, and this is so important because this is the run onto the back straightaway, which creates the best passing zone. You can see how long this little keyhole corner is, they call it, and then here's the long back straightaway. And on a Superbike, we always talk about how, the straightaways are short because they're so fast. You can already see he gets there, and he's already starting to break down into turn 6. You can see what gears that he's using right there on his dash. And through here, it's busy. You'll see we talk about elevation. This corner goes up a little bit, then it goes down. If you mess up one corner in this infield section, you mess them all up. You can see they all go together, more elevation. Come up over this little rise, really fun corner through there, down the hill into turn 11. We've seen some action there in turn 11 through Thunder Valley. Another little short straightaway, but by the time you feel like you're going to get your breath, you're already down into turn 12 and 13. It gets really tight from here, almost one line. Even when you're behind someone, it's going to be really hard to make a pass.
I love the instant 360 cameras. You can really see what the rider is doing in terms of body movements to be able to control these powerful machines around this racetrack. And it's a great lap from Jason Pridmore, and just such a unique view that we were able to capture.
Yeah, great view and a great lap for Jason, looking at the times from only 3 seconds off the best Superbike time. I mean, that's pretty impressive for Jason to jump on a bike and only be 3 seconds off the top.
You could tell as he was riding around, that was recorded earlier in the weekend. You know why? Because there weren't as many fans out there. We have got a great group of loyal fans that have come out, not just today on Saturday, when we're getting ready for racing. We had a great Friday crowd also. Yeah,
it was a huge crowd. I don't know if I've ever seen at a MotoAmerica race so many fans here on a Friday. And look, Saturday morning, it's already packed.
We have a couple of minutes before pit lane is going to open for this 30-minute qualifying session. Before that happens, let's take a look back at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. This was race number 2, Roger.
Yeah, race number 2, and what a race it was. It was awesome there at the front with Cam Beaubier getting a really good start. Cam Peterson also there with the good start, Josh Herron. And, the race 1 on the first day, Cam Beaubier kind of pulled away, and we thought that might be the same thing happens race 2, but you see Josh Herron getting a little bit racy there early on, makes the move on Cam Beaubier into the last corner, a little block pass. See Sean Dillon Kelly also into the corkscrew. Cam Beaubier fights right back. Another guy you see on the screen, Bobby Fong, in the picture as well. This was it, the turn 11. It just seemed like there was block passes every single lap, but Josh Herron, once he got to the lead, he never gave it up and was able to get the win.
You could see those top 5 were all there together the whole time. It was just over 0.2 of a second was the gap between Josh Herron and Cameron Beaubier for that win, for Josh being able to get his 3rd win of the season, and that advanced him to a 15-point lead in this championship.
Yeah, it has a little bit of breathing room, and Bobby Fong still in it there in 3rd, and Cam Peterson 4th, and Cam Beaubier 5th, 46 points back. He has a big hill to climb, but we have a lot of races left.
A lot of races, and he has a lot of speed. Before we get these bikes out on track, let's go down to the 3rd member of our broadcast team, and Michael Hill.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Just want to comment firstly on that lap from Jason Pridmore. Now, I'm not a betting man, but I'd wager at least $1 that Roger would have given him a run for his money. Feel free to respond to that, Roger, when I throw it back up there. But again, just behind me, you can see the Warhorse HSBK Ducati team. He's yet to win a race this year, but Loris Baz is getting closer and closer. He was well inside the top 3. Might just have to put a cheeky little bet on him as well. Of course, the championship leader is Josh Herron. Cameron Beaubier still mathematically in the hunt. I think, Jamie, Roger, you'll agree, this championship is far from over. It cannot be won here this weekend, but it could be lost. Points make prizes.
No, you're absolutely right. We still have 7 races remaining in this championship hunt, so many points still out there on the line. There's the number 27. His bikes are now out on the racetrack. That's Ashton Yates. You mentioned his dad, Aaron Yates, when we were looking back at some of the highlights here, and Aaron was unstoppable during his time. Ashton had a great day yesterday as well.
Yeah, great day. One little mistake yesterday we'll see here on the highlights, and this is the exit. This is actually Cam Beaubier's crash, and that was yesterday morning, 4th lap. Right there, Cam Beaubier just slid, wasn't no big deal, but Ashton Yates trying to get that run onto that back straightaway out of turn 4, just used a little too much track. And look at this save. Watch the wheels swap both ends. I mean, I don't know how Ashton saved it, but you know he had to slow down from there and let the heart rate come back down.
I love his reaction. There's just that instant head down, and you could tell he was taking a deep breath and going, whew, I did it, I made it. Okay, time to keep going. And here is Ashton Yates live now. This is the second qualifying session. If you're just joining us on YouTube and not sure how qualifying works here in the MotoAmerica Championship, this is the second and final qualifying session for Steel Commander Superbike. These times will be combined with the first qualifying session that unfolded yesterday afternoon. We did have some rain overnight, so racetrack a little bit green, doesn't have quite the same amount of grip that it had in it yesterday, but all of these riders are going to have 30 minutes to get themselves up to speed. And fans of MotoAmerica can pick your favorite rider for a chance to win money, available on your favorite sports books and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Just go and visit nxtbets.com/playma for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players, and you can receive some bonus cash. It's available in legal states. Check nxtbets.com/playma to see where you can play in your state. If I was going to bet, Roger, what do you think about SDK this weekend?
Well, when I was looking at the odds driving in on Thursday, I would have bet on SDK. You know, the odds were a little bit back, so I would have took a bet on SDK because the Thursday practice, everybody doesn't have a lot of data. I'd say his odds have changed now since the beginning of the weekend because he has been one of the guys at the top of the sheets.
Yeah, he's been able to put himself provisionally on the front row after that first qualifying session yesterday. He's been strong right out of the gates. And, you know, MotoAmerica hasn't been here at Mid-Ohio for 10 years. So you think about a rider like Sean Dillon Kelly on a new bike and the new program for the year. And when everybody's starting off with a fresh notebook, it puts him at just as much of an advantage as everybody else.
Yeah, right there on the even playing field. Every Friday morning at every event this year, you know, Sean Dillon and Top Pro Racing, they show up with zero data. You know, they're trying to figure out anything they can. So they kind of spend all day Friday trying to catch up to the rest of the group where all the other guys have data from the year before on the same bike. So now nobody has a lot of data, if any, coming into this weekend. And then they have that Thursday test for Sean, which is huge as well for a rookie in Superbike to be able to spend a day testing and also just trying a lot of different stuff.
That Dunlop tire test that you mentioned on Thursday, 4 different sessions were available to all of the Superbike riders. And one of the points that came out of that session was Dunlop realizing that maybe they needed another option for the teams. And so they went back and were able to get a shipment of tires out here from their facility. And all of the Superbike riders now this morning are being given one other option. It's the R8, a little bit of a harder tire for each of these Superbike riders to try out this morning. It's their first taste of it.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon when we go to a track with new pavement, and it kind of always eats up tires, and usually the tire test is a couple weeks before, and you know, with it being Thursday, it was right before the weekend, and they realized that the tires were wearing out, and they brought just a little bit of a harder one, and you know, I think it's something that you're planning for going into a race weekend with new pavement.
You see Sean Dillon Kelly, and when his personal best, that's that orange bar there at the bottom of the screen, the red in the middle. That means he was best overall in the second sector. As he's now working this third sector, we'll see what he's able to do with his lap time. A 1:25.9 for Sean Dillon Kelly. So getting up to speed, leading the Superbike field around this morning. This is a long qualifying session, still over 25 minutes remaining. There's Bobby Fong. He's also starting to get closer to that range of times and paces that we saw yesterday. The provisional pole right now is being held by Cameron Beaubier, who was able to do a 1:23.9. So that'll be the time that they're all chasing. But again, with the rain overnight, the track is not quite the same as what we had yesterday afternoon. So it's going to be a tough order, but some of these guys might be able to do it.
They might be able to do it. The Supersport session before this, they were getting closer, so I think the track's just going to continue to get better. We'll see how it goes on with Cam Beaubier, but as you mentioned, Bobby Fong, one of the guys top 4 in points. This is a huge qualifying for him. He was pretty far down the sheets yesterday in 9th, and that's definitely not where he's going to want to be going into the first race this afternoon. See Cam Peterson walking wounded this weekend, hurt his knee, tore his meniscus 3 weeks ago running. Then he had to crash Thursday at the test and hurt his other foot. I've seen him walk around the pitch yesterday. He had a brace on one knee, on the other leg, a brace on the ankle, so he has a lot going on.
Yeah, I love what he said there. He said, I might not be able to walk, but I can ride. So for Cam Peterson, he's a racer. That's what he's going to do. And of course he's going to get out there and race as long as he is able to do so. You can see that red time there. Sean Dylan Kelly able to drop it just a little bit more, 1:25.6. You see Josh Herring here, our championship leader, just now exiting pit lane. He hasn't put up any laps so far in this session, and 7 minutes almost have already expired.
We've kind of seen a little bit this year on Saturday mornings, kind of gives up 5 minutes, and whatever their plan is or why they do it, obviously it's working, but he goes out on fresh tires. You can see that front and rear, so we'll see what Josh can do. Yesterday he ended up on the second row. He pulled his teammate around and bumped him off the front row on that last lap, so he definitely knows how important that front row is going to be.
Go back to the number 6. This is Cameron Beaubier. He's one of the riders, one of the 23 riders entered here this weekend who had some prior experience here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course when MotoAmerica was here 10 years ago. And he came into the weekend still holding on to a track record in the Daytona Sportbike category, which is now Supersport. That record was broken yesterday. What he's chasing now, though, is Ben Spies' record from 2008, a 1:23.6. Still stands from all those years ago.
And just an incredible lap from Ben and Cam with the rain overnight. They might have been able to beat that this morning, but the track conditions are a little bit off. But we still have a little over 20 minutes in this session. Also, toward the end, these riders are going to throw on, quite a bit softer rear tire than what they're going to race on, and might be able to squeeze out a mid-23.
Times continuing to drop, a 1:25.5 now for Sean Dylan Kelly. Just so impressive this weekend, able to consistently put all of those laps together. I know we talked about him early on in this qualifying session, but it is worth noting that this is his first season in Superbike, and coming back over to the United States after spending 2 years in Europe in the Moto2 program. And for him, he's gotten right up to pace and shown that Superbike is where he belongs.
Yeah, and also two rough years over in Europe and beat up a little bit mentally. It's really tough when you go over there and struggle, so it's kind of rebuilding his confidence, and he's doing that, and the way you do it is be at the front battling for wins. And I think Sean feels like he's ready for a win now. He's got a couple podiums, and he wants that top step.
See now the number 1 bike, the Attack Performance, a Yamaha bike of Jake Gagne with that number 1 plate, and came out this season to defend his championship title. And for him, he's only been able to win once. He's been on the podium 5 times. What he's been able to do, the reason he's still sitting second in the point standings while he's been struggling with some issues internally with his hands, is he's consistently been able to score points.
And that's what's kept him in it, and other riders have made mistakes, and he's able to be there in crunch time.
Yeah, interesting point there about the defending champion Jake Gagne. Just watching on the monitors here, a lot of riders we normally see in qualifying, especially on Saturday qualifying, doing 1 or 2 laps coming in and then potentially putting a tyre in early. We're not seeing that today, and I just wonder, Roger, you could probably add on this, you've ridden around this track, tyre wear, tyre conservation. A lot of riders yesterday in both Superbike and Supersport talking that tyre life could play a big part in this race. That could be one of the reasons why we are seeing 10 minutes in, everybody's staying on track. Your thoughts?
Well, they have a different tire today, the R8, so they need to see how many laps they can get on that tire. We talk about all weekend the tires going off after 7 or 8 laps. So, the impressive thing is Sean Dylan Kelly is getting quicker each lap. He's not getting slower. So they brought that R8, and seems like it's going to be working. So you see all these guys out there, they're trying to get as close to race distance as they possibly can on laps all together to see what that tire is going to look like at the end of the session.
Yeah, that was one of the notes that came out of that Dunlop tire test was, typically there's a range that works really well for the tire. You get a lot of speed out of it consistently for the middle section of the race, and they were concerned about that, which is why Dunlop went ahead and brought out this tire. But to your point, every time Sean Dillon Kelly crosses the stripe, he's able to save or shave off a couple tenths.
Yeah, just consistently down into low 25s, and this is going to be his sixth lap at another low 125. So, you know, Sean has definitely got a bike that's racy, and that's important. And as the track gets better, I think, and the heat comes up in the afternoon, that the tire's just going to start working even better.
Here's Loris Baz, the number 76 Ducati rider, his personal best time of this session, putting himself up to the top at 125.1 for Loris Baz. And he was provisionally on the first road after that first qualifying session yesterday. It was a great session for him. He had some help from Josh Herron, his Ducati teammate, tow him across the line, able to move himself up a little bit, but middle of the front row is great for Loris.
Great for him, and you know, I think also that Thursday tire test was huge for Loris to be able to come in and just get some laps and, you know, not these little sessions, and be able to really try some things on the bike. And it's kind of showed this weekend. And Loris is getting stronger the last couple races. He hasn't really put a race together like, you know, wants a battle for a win, but he's been there toward the front.
See Josh Herron, the number 2. Take a look at what happened just a couple moments ago, Roger, for Josh.
Yeah, we'll see here. Right here, it's Ezra Bobier there on the edge of the track, and I think Josh kind of felt like he was going slow on the racing line, and he wasn't happy about it, and he let him know. And you know, that's Josh definitely wears his heart on the sleeve, and you know, I personally like it. I like seeing that emotion, and it shows that he cares. But he's got to get his head back down and try to get some laps in.
Just over 18 minutes remaining in the second and final qualifying session for Steel Commander Superbike. If you're joining us now on YouTube for this bonus coverage, just a reminder, the only place where you can watch all of these qualifying sessions and races live and in their entirety with lots of behind-the-scenes footage as well is on MotoAmerica Live Plus. So you can go ahead and go over, create your account, get yourself logged in. We have a lot of racing this afternoon, and those will not be available for you here on YouTube. So you need to go ahead and get your account set up and ready for that, as Loris Baz has made his way into pit lane, handing the Ducati over to his team to execute a couple of changes. He'll debrief with them, and see him sit down. It's different in the Superbike class. These riders they're a lot calmer. They'll sit down, they'll take their helmets off, they'll debrief, and then when it's go time, they're able to put their helmets back on and just go.
Yeah, their sessions are a little bit longer, and with the Superbike, there's so much more that you can change with the electronics, so you really have to sit down and really like let the crew know exactly what's going on. And you know, Loris also did a 7-lap run as well. He did his best time in the last lap, so he's probably coming in and letting that crew know, hey, what does the R8 feel like after, you know, almost mid-race.
See the number 45, Cameron Peterson. We talked about the issues that he had on Thursday. Big crash for Cameron Peterson on that Dunlop tire test and injuring himself. Had to go get some x-rays, but back out yesterday. That team doing a phenomenal job of getting him another bike ready for the weekend. Now you look at the number 94, Danilo Lewis. He is leading our Superbike Cup Championship. If you aren't familiar with that, we have a championship within a championship. The Superbike Cup riders are riding the stock 1000 spec equipment that they're able to come out and do the Superbike races with. They get some extra track time. They get to qualify with the full-on Superbikes and the Superbike riders, obviously. But then they also get to go through the motions of the racing and learn from the racecraft and put themselves right up there on the same grid with the Superbikes and able to continue developing.
Yeah, and it's awesome just all that extra track time that they get doing the Superbike races and practice and qualifying. See Danilo Lewis getting his leg out there, gonna pull in the pits, but that's the big thing, is just getting those extra laps for a guy like Danilo is huge on tracks that he doesn't, you know, been coming to for a lot of years.
As Danilo makes his way down to pit lane, let's go down to pit lane ourselves with Michael Hill.
Yeah, looks like now a lot of riders starting to come down here. We are getting towards the halfway point in this session. Loris Baz was the first of the big names to come in. He was followed about a sort of 20 seconds later by Cameron Bobier. Very interesting observation from me down here. Dunlop tyre technicians immediately over to both riders, talked to both riders, looked straight at the rear tyres. I had a look myself as well, and definitely from what I could see yesterday, if you were watching, you will have seen lots of wear on the right-hand side of the tyres. What I can tell tell you is there's less wear on the rear tyre from Cameron Beaubier than there was on the rear tyre of Loris Baz, and it looks as though Beaubier is getting a new rear tyre in. They're making a couple of changes, but Roger, certainly from what I'm looking at, and again, I'm no tyre expert, the Beaubier rear tyre looked in a bit better shape than Loris Baz's.
Yeah, and that's why they brought the harder option, and you can see now it looks like they're making the adjustment to the shock there, so you know, a little harder option. Maybe that the bike's doing a couple things different. They just want to have an opportunity to throw something else at it before they have to start focusing on just doing that really good lap. See, new Olin shock there. I think they already had this planned out. They already had that shock there. This was something that, you know, when you sit down with your crew on Friday night or Saturday morning, you come up with a plan in this qualifying, and now they want to try this shock out. Still got a little under 14 minutes left, so he'll get a couple laps on it before he puts the soft on.
See Josh Herron, one of the only riders that is still out on the racetrack. Remember, at the beginning of the session, he made the decision to wait a few minutes before going out himself, so now as everybody else is on the pit lane, Josh has some clear track in front of him, and he's been able to go personal best through the first 2 sectors on this lap.
Yeah, this is a good lap for Josh. You know, he got a little frustrated early on, but you can see now he's been, you know, at the front, and I think the confidence that Josh has right now as he goes to the top of the board with the 25-1, you can just see it in his riding and how happy he is off the bike, and it's all translating to being a guy that's really tough to beat.
This is JD Beach on that number 95 Tyler Cycle BMW, currently being scored down in the 7th position. He's also hasn't gone back to pit lane yet. He's been able to do 10 laps so far in this session, so he's really putting the paces together to be able to test the race length of that new tire that the teams were given this morning. But for JD's, you know, still getting up to speed, and not up to speed, but trying to get comfortable aboard that bike, and it's really been a progression this season. Is, you know, he's doing the full season championship for the first time in a number of years for Superbike and coming over from flat track, but he has had some shiny moments.
He has, and you said it. He's trying to find that confidence and the comfort where the limit is. Right now, he doesn't know exactly where the limit is. He did a couple flat track races to fill in for Dallas Daniels and got a couple wins. And, you know, I thought maybe that would give him a little momentum going in the right direction. And he's closer this weekend, but we talk about a class that is so competitive. He's only about 8 tenths off Josh, but with a class that's so deep, you find yourself down in 7, so it's really difficult whenever we have a deep field like this. So we got the Ducatis right now, 1st and 2nd so far in this qualifier. See Jake Gagne with the crash.
Jake Gagne has gotten up, and he's trying to get that bike up as well with the help of the safety workers. He's able to do so. We'll see if he can possibly ride it back to pit lane, but you can see that broken bar.
You can see they're trying to put it back on, at least good enough to be able to cruise back into the pits.
Just under 12 minutes remaining in this qualifying session now, so clock is ticking down. We do have a replay of Jake.
Yeah, just up in turn 3-4 area, and that's a common crash up there. The track kind of goes away, and you know, you get in there, try to get in there really quick because it's hard to get going if you don't, because you're so far on the side of the tire, and he just lost the front end, and looks like he's not going to be able to get back out in this session.
You can see him shaking his head there as he walks away. The Marshall's getting the bike out of the way as well, so the session can remain green with just over 11 minutes remaining for Jake Gagne. The best time he was able to put in this morning through 7 laps was a 1:25.3. Yesterday in that first qualifying session, Jake had a 1:24.8, so that'll be the time that sets the grid for himself. You look on pit lane right now, and Josh Herron has made his way over as the rest of the field is now starting to exit pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like he's having some problems with the front end. You can see him kind of bouncing his hands up and down, and that's usually what a rider does when he's trying to tell the crew, I guess, some front chatter. We mentioned a lot Sean Dylan Kelly getting a lot of laps in, and we were watching the live timing there. He did on his 10th lap on this tire, his best lap was a 25.2. You know, his 10th lap was a 25.6. So the fall off so far this morning has been better than we've seen.
That's great news for the racing that we're going to have unfolding this afternoon. 2 races here at Mid-Ohio this weekend. One will be today for each of the categories, another one tomorrow. As you look now at the number 45, Cameron Peterson, on a lap that is his personal best.
We talked about him riding injured this weekend and crashed on Thursday. struggled a little bit yesterday, 8th overall, so it's going to be a big session for Kane Peterson. He's setting 8th right now, and just kind of got his confidence knocked a little bit yesterday, and needs his laps and his qualifiers to try to build that back.
You can see he's gotten his personal best through the first 2 sectors, that plus .358. That is to the #1 time. So if he can continue this across the start, he'll move himself up a couple of spots. A 125.644 went from 8th to 6th. See the number 54, this is Richie Escalante, who's not been with us this season since the opening round back at Road Atlanta. After that second race, he had an incident after the checkered flag, and big injury for him that he's had to go home and have surgery and recover from, and this is his first weekend back out. Michael?
Yeah, Richie Escalante making his return to the MotoAmerica track, and did get a chance to speak to him briefly on Thursday, caught up with him as well yesterday, and he said the plan this weekend is to make no mistakes. He wants to get a full weekend under his belt, and Roger, you know what it's like when you've missed half a season. He's lacking bike time. The good news for Richie, of course, is that his teammate Brandon Pash yesterday was on the provisional second row at the grid, so there is light at the end of the tunnel for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, but it seems as though Escalante's plan is to make no mistakes, bring it home, get some points, and then keep building towards the end of the season. Seems like a smart decision for me.
Yeah, and it's tough whenever your competitors are in mid-season form, and you've been setting out the last couple months, and they've been able to work with their crews and get, find the new limits of their bike, and just miss all that track time and all those races. And you always feel mid-season that you're a different rider than you are beginning of the season, because the confidence is there and you got so many laps. And for Richie, he doesn't have that, so he's got a tough hill to climb. But the only way to, get there is come here and start racing. And he's quicker than he went yesterday. And it's gonna be a huge weekend just to get some laps for Richie.
You can see JD Beach there talking to the team and getting him ready to go back out. Just over 8 minutes remaining in this session. You see it out on the racetrack. The number 69 is Honda of Hayden Gillum. He's on an outlap also, and currently sitting down in 12th. This is one of the other Superbike Cup riders. It's number 78 right behind him. That's Benjamin Smith.
It's great to see Hayden this weekend and, Benjamin Smith, both of them in Superbike here at Mid-Ohio. And Hayden has been really impressive this year on the Honda. And, it's great to see Honda back into the, not just stock 1000, but Superbike as well. And not only being back, but being competitive.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to do all of the Superbike races this year, and is going for the championship again in stock 1000, as well as the Mission King of the Baggers, who are here this weekend. And he made a deal with his team owner, with Terry Vance, that if it was a race weekend where he would have to do 3 races, so it'd be stock 1000 was also on the property, he wouldn't do the Superbike race. He would only compete in those 2 categories and save himself for the racing. But on a weekend like this, where there is no stock 1000, we get to see him out there on the grid with everyone else.
See Hayden with his leg out. He's going to pull in the pits. I'm sure he's going to try to come in and make a couple changes there right toward the end. 7 minutes left in this session. It is going to go quick for these guys.
You saw him pull in. Benjamin Smith staying out on the racetrack. Benjamin this morning has done 10 laps. His best time so far, 1:27.2 with the greener racetrack. Looking back at yesterday, he was able to find a 1:26.5. So going through the race pace motions this morning for Benjamin Smith and just getting as much experience as he can.
Yeah, and for Ben, he's only 2 seconds back from the top time, so that's the closest we've seen him toward the first place guys in Superbike. You see Loris Baz in. He was in and went back out and did a lap. Obviously some changes they made. He wasn't into it.
Clock continues to tick down. We are now under 6 minutes. You see Sean Dylan Kelly on that number 40, still holding on to a top 3 position for himself. Again, this session will combine with the times from yesterday, but Sean Dylan Kelly yesterday had himself provisionally on that front row.
And Sean's been in top 3 almost every session since the test on Thursday, and that's just going to be huge. And now we see him back out there. He's got some fresh tires on. We'll see if they can get down into the 24s. We talked about the track record. Let's see what they can do with the last 5 minutes.
Here's Loris Baz. We saw him off of the bike, talking to the team, now back on and exiting pit lane. So he's going to get a couple more laps this morning. You see the number 88 there. That's Max Flinders behind him. A crash out on the racetrack. I believe that's Bobby Fong slowly trying to get himself up. He was our championship leader at one point in the season. You can see him right there against the air fencing. So thankfully that fencing was there. It looks like he may have needed that support there. You can see that chain link fence behind him. Just a tremendous job the safety team does each weekend to make sure that all of these high impact areas for all of these riders are protected with that air fence. They travel around the country and make sure that all the riders can stay as safe as possible. Bobby Fong up, leaning against it right now, trying to collect his breath.
Yeah, we'll see a replay here. So it's really headed into the last corner. You don't see a lot of crashes there, but you see the front end as he was changing directions just as the track goes away. Oh man, you hate to see the bike flip like that after the big crash that he had at Laguna. And you mentioned that air fence. It's huge for these riders, and you know, the Road Racing World Action Fund. People can donate and help out with that air fence. If that wasn't there, Bobby wouldn't be walking off right now.
You see the thumb up from the marshal. He's talked to Bobby and signaling to race control. He's up, he's all right. We're going to get ourselves out of the way. As you now see the session continuing. His bike was behind the air fence, so we are able to keep on going. Sean Dylan Kelly putting himself up to the top of the session, down into the 124s for the first time this morning, a 124.5 for Sean Dylan Kelly. In this session alone, he's over half a second clear of the rest of the field with 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and he's on a better lap right now as well. It's just really fun to watch Sean when he's out there trying to get that qualifying lap in, and you can just see how hard he's pushing. It's really hard on these qualifying laps here because you want to push so hard, but you almost have to be patient here at Mid-Ohio, and you're trying to really just uncork that really good lap, and it's hard to be patient and push at the limit.
He wasn't able to improve his personal best time there in that second sector. Continuing to watch him as he comes across the front straightaway. Let's see as he crosses the stripe. Another 124.8 for Sean Dylan Kelly, so he is consistently now below that 125 mark.
Consistently, and it looks like now he's going to slow down a little bit, I'm sure, doing 2 laps. You know, he's already looking back at the tire. He lost a little bit of grip there toward the end. But 2 really good laps for Sean, and just been so impressive this weekend. We see Josh Herron out now as well, and see what kind of lap time he can throw at it. You know, Josh is going to be pushing hard to try to beat that time from yesterday to get himself back onto the front row.
With 2 minutes remaining now in this final qualifying session for Steel Commander Superbikes. Everyone chasing the time from qualifying session number 1 yesterday. Cameron Beaubier, that 123.9, but with a new tire this morning, riders working through a new setup for themselves and trying to get the most out of these bikes before we get into racing this afternoon, just getting as much speed as they can, as much knowledge as they can. Josh Herron looking to see if he can improve, looking at timing and scoring right now. He hasn't gone personal best quite yet.
And Josh will get 2 more laps if he wants it. You know, he had a couple seconds left for the normal lap time, and he just came out with some fresh rubber, so we're going to be able to see what Josh can do.
He doesn't have anybody in front of him. He's got the clean track that he's been looking for. You can see that air fencing there on the right-hand side of the screen, that dramatic crash from Bobby Fong and the bike on the opposite side of the fence. So at the end of this session, there's going to be some work to do to be able to get that bike out of there and get it back over to the wrench cycle team.
Yeah, and luckily that catch fence is there as well, or you know, it'd be over here by the TV booth by us.
It's great to see Bobby Fong able to get up and walk away with the marshals after that incident. For him, that's a high-speed moment. As you continue to watch Josh Herron on the left-hand side of your screen. Looking at his splits right now, he's not improving. You said it, Roger, that he would be able to get 2 more laps if he wanted to. This is the crash real time for Fong.
It's just lost the front end in that last corner as it goes away. Man, that is such a big crash. You see, watch the front end. Starts to go. Man, look at that bike.
That's just amazing. That is so much work going into this venue to make sure everybody stays safe. Another incident has just occurred as the checkered flag has now been shown from the start stand. That's JD Beach walking away.
We talked about him confident, struggling, getting comfortable. This does not help. So unfortunately for JD, had a crash, and we also see Cam Peterson on the side of the track as well.
Looking at his bike, it looks like he may have had an incident as well. Looks like there might be some damage there on the side as Cam Peterson sits in the chair and just has to wait for the session to end and be able to get back over to the paddock area. Not the first time this weekend that he's been through that. So you can see him sitting there trying to collect his thoughts as the damage is now evident on that number 45 Yamaha.
His teammate had a crash as well, so the TAC Progressive Yamaha team is going to have a little bit of work to do going into that first race this afternoon.
Mentioned the checkered flag has been shown, so riders now able to take advantage of a practice start. That's Loris Baz on the number 76. It's the 96 of Brandon Posh that was right alongside him. There's Sean Dylan Kelly, the quickest rider in this session this morning, the only rider able to dip into the 124 range, nearly 0.6 of a second faster than the rest of the field this morning. This is going to be a huge boost of confidence for Sean Dylan Kelly.
A huge boost, and you can just see it in his riding now, just the confidence ever since he's kind of from Laguna, when he kind of got back running with the front guys. And this session, just going out, you can tell when a rider is really feeling good when he goes out in the first couple laps. He's able to get up to speed really quick, as we see JD walking off there.
See JD there soaking in the issues that he's had this morning, looking around a little bit. Let's take a look at the results from qualifying. These are the combined results with what we had yesterday. This will be the way we set the grid for this afternoon. Cameron Bobier, our pole sitter, joined on the front row by Loris Baz and Sean Dylan Kelly.
Yeah, Josh Herring going to start there on the second row with Jake Gagne. Brandon Posh, great qualifying for Brandon there at 6. JD Beach, Cam Peterson 8. Bobby Fong, we've seen his issues. And Ashton Yates, they're going to start inside the top 10.
It's going to be a great race. If you look at there at the manufacturers, we have 3 different manufacturers inside of the top 6, so it's going to be an exciting race for sure. Let's go down to pit lane with Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Down here with the Titleist Cycle Racing BMW rider Cam Bobier, another pole position on MotoAmerica's return to this track. Of course, you have been here before. Different challenge for you. How was that qualifying today?
Yeah, thank you. Man, track was pretty green there this morning. We tried the 8 rear that Dunlop brought overnight, and yeah, I think everyone is forced to race that tire with the track condition. You know, they did a really good job repaving this place, but it's chewing up tires pretty good. Yeah, having a lot of fun out here at Mid-Ohio. It looks like it's packed riding around the track yesterday. So thanks to all the fans for coming out, and yeah, I hope to put on a good show the next 2 days for you guys, and big shout out to my Titleist guys. They've been working so hard. Had a little mishap yesterday in first practice, and yeah, they got the bike all rebuilt for second qualifying. We were able to throw down some good laps, so thanks to them, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.
Loris Baz is going to start alongside you, Sean Dylan Kelly on the front row, Josh Herring just behind you. This championship isn't done yet. What kind of race are we expecting from you today, and where do you expect your biggest rivals to come from?
No, it's definitely not done. We got a lot of work to do, though. I'm just gonna, try to put my head down and get the best result I possibly can. But it's tough. Sean's riding really good. Josh, Baz. There's class is stacked this year. I know we keep saying it over and over, but it is. Every practice session, every qualifying, every race is tough to be up at the top, and it's awesome though. It's exciting.
Final question before we let you go, and obviously you've got a debrief to do. Lap times today about a second slower than yesterday. Is that just down to track conditions? Is it the tyre, or what is the reason that we're seeing times slower than we have seen all weekend?
Yeah, so the track condition was just a little colder this morning, and we got a lot of rain overnight, and I think it washed all that good rubber off. And with the new surfaces, you really need that rubber to make the tires stick and make the tires last. So I'm sure it'll get rubbered in. Hopefully it doesn't rain before the race, and I'm sure it'll get rubbered in nice for all the races later.
Excellent. Thanks for talking to us, Cam. Cam Beaubier on pole position, Titleist Cycle Racing, still in this championship fight. As I said, you can't win the title here, you can lose it. And I tell you what, as we see JD Beach just walking back up the pit lane as well, good to see he's on his feet. Tell you what, Jamie, we are going to be in for one hell of a race when the lights go out at 3:10.
No, we certainly are, for sure. You see JD Beach there, and I've been told that he was offered a couple of rides, but he chose to walk back, clear his head himself. Let's take a look at top 3 from this session. Loris Baz.
Yeah, great start for Loris Baz again today, Saturday, being in the top 3. Got himself a really good provisional front row second yesterday. He's able to remain on the front row, and that's where he's going to want to be going into that first race. He's got a really good starting spot.
Second this morning, his teammate also on the Ducatis is Josh Herron.
Yeah, our championship points leader going to be starting on the second row, but for Josh, I think he knows he has the speed this morning. Even the track was a little bit off, but Josh was able to go out there and reel those laps off, and he's looking strong.
To the point of Cameron Beaubier in that interview, it's all going to come down to the race pace with that new tire, and Sean Dillon Kelly leading this session was able to find the most consistency.
Most consistency, fast every session, and just looks really strong. He's the win. Sean is going to be one of the guys fighting for the win. He's got so much confidence right now. Not only that, the way he's riding, we've seen him on screen all weekend. He just looks like he's on fire.
Inside of the top 3 in each and every session. You can see now the work being done. There's Zach out there assisting the track workers to get Bobby Fong's bike out from behind that air fencing. Zach will also take a look at the air fencing itself. They check after each incident to make sure that it still has enough air in it to be able to do its job, and see if they need to switch out any of the pieces. Each of those are their sections, and so if there's damage to one of the air fence sections, they can pull that section out, repair it if they're able to, or replace it if they need to. And the crew does a great job after each impact to make sure that the riders stay as safe as possible, but that bike is mangled.
Yeah, that bike, they got a lot of work to do there, and we've seen Bobby, losing the front end there, and we talked about the, Dunlop bringing a little harder tire. Sometimes whenever you start in qualifying, you put a softer tire on, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of grip. You can push the front end going down the hill.
Track work happening too, getting the grooves out of the gravel. Take a look at a couple of replays of what led to that.
Just see the front end. Just such a fast crash for Bobby there.
Bobby himself tumbling all the way into the air fencing. Bike has now been removed. Bobby was up and ready. We're going to step away. We'll be back right after this.
We got super lucky about 5-6 years ago